Hey, good morning, everyone. Everyone can hear me loud and clear? Let's get past that. So I'm from Alteryx. My name is Ryan French. This is Jeff Kortis. I'm going to do that thing that you should never do, but by a show of hands, how many people here are either aware of Alteryx or have used Alteryx in the past? Okay, a little better than I anticipated, but that's great.
It's a good question now.
It is. It's a great question. So our charter here at Alteryx is Analytics for All, because we can work across all lines of business. And for those of you in the audience that have used it or are familiar with it, you can certainly attest to that. So we're going to talk a little bit about the platform today, but more importantly, we're going to talk about how we can empower data users, business users to actually use the tool and change the way that they work from a day-to-day standpoint. So starting off here, my name is Ryan French. I lead the sales team here in the Midwest. I'm actually based here in Detroit. I do have a hashtag. I'm that guy. So it's hashtag Ryan from Detroit. Find me on LinkedIn. You'll maybe be disappointed, but at least you'll have a little fun when we can make fun of myself together. But a little bit about my background. So I've been in tech for only about 3.5 years. I actually was an engineer out of University of Detroit, worked through the automotive companies for TRW Automotive, Trelleborg, got a guy back there who used to work with me at Trelleborg, Swedish Automotive. And then I moved into sales leadership for ITW, Fortune 200. All of the business problems that you face today, I've been a part of as well from both the leadership and engineering side. And then when I moved into the technology space, it was to really go back and help solve a lot of the problems that I was facing. So Alteryx is a great company. We love to partner with customers, and we'll talk more about that. But just to lay a little bit of a foundation for who I am. And then I'll give it to you, Jeff.
Thanks, Ryan. So Jeff Kortis, I manage the sales engineering team here. I've been in the tech space and sales engineering for the better part of the last decade. So covering everything from environmental health and safety to real estate software, and my primary focus has been in data analytics. So I've worked with everything from Alteryx to Power BI to Tableau to Qlik, and everything in between.
Thanks, Jeff. So typically we'd tuck these way in the back, but we actually have a pretty good history here at Alteryx, so I wanted to share it with you up front. So we actually work with over 45% of the Fortune 2000 companies. We've been around for about 23 years. We actually started off as a consulting company way, way back. Fun fact, 2 of our 3 founders are still a part of the Alteryx team. So we have our executive chair, Dean Stoker, and then Libby as well. And the big thing I'll take away is when I talked to Libby a few months back, I asked her what it is about Alteryx that was different. And she said from day one when they built this company out of Irvine, California, they always agreed internally that they would focus on solving customer problems and bringing value to the field. If they weren't doing that, they didn't want to build a company and they didn't want to build a product. So they've held true to that charter, and that's why we kind of roll into Analytics for All, as we talked about. We also have a community of over 300 members. So we've got a community website of over 300 members. You can jump in, 300,000 members. Thank you. That's a difference, big difference.
A little bit.
And the good thing about the community, just so you know, the affinity that people have towards Alteryx is these are made up of people like you in the audience. It's our customers. There's some folks from Alteryx as well, but a large part of this are Alteryx advocates that love and use the product every day and change the way that they do business. And we're over 2,300 employees and growing. We're a public company since 2017. But the big thing I want you to take away from this discussion, this presentation, is that we like to partner with our customers. We're not transactional. So we'll jump in, help you solve problems, and then we'll worry about all the other paperwork and contracting and things in the end. Just to give you an understanding, when we talk about 45% of the global 2000, we're in every industry. So if there's a problem that you're facing, whether it's in the industrial side, financial services, banking, energy and utility, you name it, CPG. I know we had some conversations at the booth out there with lots of different people from different areas of the business. We've seen it. And not only have we seen it, we have a partner ecosystem that we can bring in. It's really smooth transaction. We can get in together, start building, talking through. But if you're facing that problem, we've seen it. Our partners have seen it, and we've built solutions. So we're ready to jump in and really help you solve problems versus trying to teach you why Alteryx is good for you. It's more about what are the problems you're facing today and how can we support. There you go.
Thank you, Ryan. All right, folks. So to kind of set the groundwork of where we're going, what we're doing with customers, quote up here from the IDC. But basically, as data analytics is growing, right, everybody has a need to analyze their data, become smarter, more efficient with it. And so what we found is that as you're going through this, a lot of companies are consuming data and they're kind of in a reactive state, right? They're using old technologies, things like that. So without actual analytics, automation, and forward-thinking progress, it really just becomes digitization, if I don't stutter that out. So as we kind of run through this, we found that most folks are saying, yes, we are investing heavily in AI, in data analytics space, and we want to empower our workers to become more efficient, smarter, more proactive than reactive, right? However, only 19% of those organizations are saying that they're truly a data-driven organization. So what that creates here is that analytics gap, right? Now, from the IIA, they actually analyzed over 1,000 different organizations like yourselves that were going through an analytics journey, whether it's transitioning from one software to another or just becoming a more analytics-driven organization. And they created a maturity scale, so 1 through 5. And what they found is the average company score is about 2.2, which says localized analytics, meaning we're using reports, we're using spreadsheets, we're analyzing data in a very manual way. Very few organizations are actually breaching that gap and coming up to stage 3 through 5, where they're actually using those insights to drive business decisions and actually getting a leg up on competitors and different areas in the space, right? So as we analyze this, this is kind of where Alteryx comes in to help close that gap, right? So on the left is a lot of what we see when we deal with current customers or new customers that are coming on board. They have experts that handle the data, right? Hey, I need to write a different stored procedure. I need to write a Python script, something like that. They're going to go to the experts on their team. They're going to write that, and then they're going to pass that information back. And it's kind of a loop there that goes through, creating silos, creating manual processes, and it slows the process down from an analyzation standpoint, right? So it's error-prone, insecure, and it's slow. Now, most organizations are going to want to switch to the desired state, right? So they still have their experts. You still have your data scientists and those folks that are able to write the Python, the R code, the SQL code, but they're able to work on some of the more advanced things. They can work on those heavy-hitting items that are more AI-driven or proactive. And what we can do is shift some of those manual processes that they're working on today that might be bogging them down, and we can put that into the hands of the business users who actually own those questions and allow them to create processes to automate those without needing to know the technology or the coding skills. They just need to know their business, which they already do. So that's kind of the desired state, real-time, automated, accurate insights, but really for everybody. So how we're actually going to achieve this, and I'm going to talk a little bit about our 4 pillars of kind of how we go to a client and go to market, and then I'll talk a little bit about the software, and then Ryan's going to come back in and talk a little bit about how we've done this with some other organizations and specific departments. But really we have 4 pillars that we tend to focus on. They all start with E, so it makes it nice and easy. But the first one is we want to make analytics easy, right? We want to make sure that it is able to be used by any person in the organization who knows the business and knows what they need to do with the data, but doesn't necessarily have the technical skills to write code or do anything advanced with it. Second, we want to cover everything. We want to cover every line of business that you have, every department, every industry. As you saw on the customer slide, there isn't an organization that has data that we can't walk into and offer some value to. And I think that's one of the biggest proponents that brought me to Alteryx as a whole. Number 3, we want to be everywhere. So as the business needs change, you want to be on-prem, we can give you on-prem solutions. You want to be in the cloud, we can give you cloud solutions, right? We want to make sure that we cover every domain and area that you need. And fourth, we want to enable everyone. So now, kind of closing the loop on that, it's easy, which means everyone can now use it. Anybody who needs to analyze data, we can give them a tool that allows them to do that. So to go a little deeper on each of these segments, when we talk about making it easy, it's a drag and drop interface. It's a low code or no code environment, right? If you want to write code, you absolutely can, but we don't require it. You know what you need to do, you know what type of transformation you need to do on the data, We're going to give you an interactive approach to do that with a drag and drop, easy to use interface. We cover everything, right? So whether you're talking about a cloud data warehouse and you need to access that data, whether you want to run solutions on-prem on a local desktop, or you want to publish information up to a server that users can actually access through a URL, we want to give you that ability to analyze the data where it is and how you need it. We don't want to make you change anything about how you're running the business or where you're running it at. A couple examples there, and we can talk more in detail, but I'll leave some of these to Ryan's point as well. But Bayer, McLaren, Microsoft, using different aspects of our platform. Microsoft uses our Auto Insights tool to get insights in minutes. Auto Insights, a lot of people might look at and say, it's pretty similar to a Power BI, which Microsoft owns, but they use us in conjunction with it. Now, when we talk about working everywhere, this is what I mentioned earlier. Wherever the data is, we want to give you a solution that allows you to connect to it, deploy it where you need, and then generate outcomes wherever you need those as well. So whether we're talking about the data warehouses like Snowflake out there, Databricks, whether we're talking about applications that you have with your CRM like Salesforce, or in a traditional sense, you've got Excel files, CSVs, PDFs even, and you need to ingest that information and then pull it into the platform to analyze. We're going to give you a connector that gives you the ability to do that with a drag and drop. Now, as you talk about where the information is deployed, you can see some of the common ones down there as well, the Snowflake, the Databricks, but AWS, Azure, the GCPs of the world, the top three. But we can deploy it anywhere. You can also have, of course, the on-prem, and then generate those outcomes into the tools that need to ingest the data that you've transformed. So whether that's just publishing it back to a given data warehouse, or whether we need to generate documents that need to be emailed, shifted off to anybody from there, or we need to publish that right up to a Tableau, a Power BI, to allow you to have custom insights and build the visualizations that the business runs on. Fourth E, Alteryx is for everyone. So a couple different verticals here that you can see: HR, finance, supply chain. We can cover every area of the business that you have. And that's one of the big keys that we focus on, is being able to go into anybody who has data, needs to analyze it, we can actually help them, right? So a couple use cases that we can see within there in the HR space: employee retention, recruiting, analyzing different candidates. When we talk about finance, tax automation, FP&A, daily reconciliations of your general ledger. Supply chain, we can talk about inventory optimization, demand forecasting, some of those more advanced items like route optimizations and things like that. Ryan will talk a little bit more about the supply chain a little bit later. But being that it's for everyone, your data scientists can still use it, right? We have the ability to embed Python or R code into the tools, but the business users, the professional services users, IT, marketing, HR, all have the ability to use this tool because of that drag and drop interface with the no-code environment. Now, those are the four pillars of kind of how we go about engaging customers and where we can focus on to bring value, but how we actually do that is with the full Alteryx automation platform. So when we talk about this, same kind of slide here, but we've pulled out the center here. So first part, ETL, right? You need to connect to the data, you need to pull it in. That's going to be the first part. Then you need to prep it, blend the data together, add additional enrichment, whether it's creating formulas or adding expressions. And then from there, you might want to do some more advanced things like generate reports, create an analytic app, as we call it, pulling in geospatial or additional data sets that you need to combine with your existing proprietary data. And then moving to the right, publishing that to a data science team, to AutoMLs, doing natural language processing, and generating those insights in our Auto Insight tool, or publishing back out to custom tools like Tableau. Now, the portfolio that we're going to do that with and go to market with is the 5 items that you can see on the screen here. Now, there's subcomponents to each of these, but if you're in the cloud, we have our Designer Cloud powered by Trifacta. So if you want to be able to connect to a cloud warehouse, you can do that in all of these tools, but that one's actually also hosted in the cloud. So if you want to run that in GCP or Azure, you have that ability. Designer Desktop, that's going to be our flagship product. Anybody who raised their hand probably is living in these next two, either designer, desktop, or server. Those are the ones that have been around the longest. But designer desktop typically needs no introduction. That's going to be a local installation where you'll download it to a local machine, and that's where you're going to build those data pipelines and those processes and those workflows. Alteryx Server gives you the ability to then take those processes that you've automated, publish them up to the server, and now allow additional users to schedule those workflows, to consume the data, to just go in and run information ad hoc, but they don't need to actually edit anything. They're just users or consumers or viewers, as you might call them, and they just need to go in and review the information off of a workflow or a process that someone on the business line might have built for them. Now the last two are going to get more into the insights and advanced areas. So our Alteryx Machine Learning is a cloud-based solution that you can actually take data sets, publish them up, and use our tools to guide you and run various algorithms to predict or do prescriptive analysis, right? That has embedded in it a knowledge base. So as a user might be going through, and it could be a business line user, someone who's knowing how to analyze the data, they know the data that they're working with, but they're not that versed in the machine learning algorithms and terminology. We have a guided knowledge base right within our ML server that can show them, here's what a given variable means, here's what we're doing in this step, and allows them kind of to learn as they go with also providing that value outcome. And then I mentioned Auto Insights earlier, but that's going to be our AI-powered dashboarding tool. So as you take various pieces of information, you publish that up, that is going to take, under the hood, Python algorithms to analyze your data and then generate 3 key values off of it. First is a root cause analysis. It's going to tell you why a given metric happened or is what it is. Then it's going to do outlier and anomaly detection. So it's going to analyze all of these data points. The more data you have, the better. But it takes historical trends to analyze and figure out, is this an outlier? Is this an anomaly? And then it flags those for easy insights for the consumers who then might want to drive a business decision off of that, or even potentially go into a customization visual tool like Power BI and then build a further insight off of it, but now they know where to look.
Beautiful. So now that you have a little bit deeper understanding of what Alteryx is capable of and what the tool and platform looks like across the board, just a couple quick topics around how we engage with customers, right? When you take a look at our best practices, I'm not going to read the slide, but we have value engineering ready and available so that when we get engaged with you on any project that you're working on, we can actually help generate the ROI, help you generate the ROI, capture that, and start building a business case together so that you can push it up to leadership and help sell that for you. When we talk about engaging with customers, what I would say is more, even as much as the platform is a standalone product versus what you've seen before and we can connect in, I would also say that our engagement model is very different. So we want to partner with you, and we do this with lots of customers today. We want to get in and look at your business problems, understand what those problems are, and as we continue to build those out and utilize all these different areas that we've got available to us, we want to make sure that we're actually solving real world problems with you and then capturing the ROI that's a return out of those problems so that you can go and present that up. And then I'll give you an example. This is one that we can bake down a little bit into supply chain when we talk about value. Again, it's not here's Alteryx, here's what it can do for you, have fun. It's how can we help you solve business problems? And when we map these out together and sort of come to you, we want to align around your strategic imperatives and sort of distill that down. So a good example is we look at supply chain, and when we work, typically when we work with customers, we take a look at your strategy framework, what those strategic imperatives are coming from the top, so what those executives are most care about the most, so that we can drive down from a strategic imperative, in this case, operational efficiency, bake those out into some goals and capture the goals that you're working on, whether it's in your department or it's cross-functionally amongst many departments. We'll help you determine what those goals are. And in this case, there's 3 that we came out with: enhancements in energy efficiency for a particular customer, reducing supply chain overall cost and lead time, which we're all facing in every company if you have any manufacturing or product at all, and then quality assurance and testing. So as we go through strategic imperatives that would impact the executives and leadership, and we start to bake those down into different departmental heads and leads, Then we can get into an area where we look at key data and analytic projects for this particular customer in supply chain, where we highlight logistics optimization, plant to distribution, or plant to plant. And I'll give you an example of how we did that with a pretty well-known customer here pretty shortly. Demand forecasting, optimizing safety stock. There's this cycle that we all know as sales leaders, as supply chain experts, as finance leaders and folks, where what's the optimal safety stock that we keep on hand so that we can make sure we have it available when our customers need it without without carrying too high of an inventory carrying cost. We're all dealing with that. We know supply is limited in a lot of instances, and we have to overbuy. So we can look at this as an outcome and then let Alteryx supplement the work that you're trying to do to get you there faster, and then reduce those manual errors that come with the spreadsheets that we're all working in. And again, trust me, I know the pain on that. So that's another example. As Jeff mentioned, auto insights. So this is a beautiful thing. Once we do all the work in Alteryx for a demand forecast or for an inventory optimization problem, it's automated. So as soon as you have that in, you've built it out. And again, to give you an example, we'd build it out with you, with Jeff and his team. We'd bring in partners from our ecosystem as well. We'd build that in together. Over your shoulder for an hour working session here or there. After 2 to 3 hours, you typically have something built out that's usable. Very, very different than what I've been used to when I was on the other side purchasing software, and then in other companies I've worked with where it typically takes, let's call it even on a fast day or fast year, 8 to 12 months. This is something we can build out in a few days that's going to actually solve your problem. Once you have it and you automate it, you can come in on a Monday morning, drink coffee, and look at the results. Apply auto insights as well, and it'll start telling you where those outliers are and those root causes so that you're not spending 80% of your time trying to just get the data, because we've had so many conversations with executives that I've been on site with over the past 3 weeks, with some of the analysts that we've worked with, where most of their day or week is spent trying to just get the data. And every Monday rolls along, every week or every month, if you're looking at finance and month-end close, and all of a sudden you have new reports, you've got new data, and you start that cycle over every week or every few days or every month. In this case, we'd automate it, and then the Auto Insights tool would help you really pick out where those root causes are so that you can go to leadership and say, here's why this is happening, and here's how we can adjust for that. And then finally, we talked about data integration. And again, as an example for one of our customers, doesn't matter. Alteryx is data agnostic, but we know that most of the time from a data architecture standpoint, there's so many systems, so many tools that you've purchased, that you have. Some are, I was talking to someone out there about a particular product, and I said, is it love relationship, hate relationship? They said it's a love-hate. I would say from our standpoint, if you look at the community, you look at the affinity, like I said, that we have for our platform and what Alteryx does. Our people love, our customers love the product and the platform that we sell and how we go to market. So we can help on the data integration side and not just become another tool, but actually start to become the glue that holds these things together. I'll give you an example, and we can talk about many more Q&A or even out there, but one example is last year I was working directly with Bosch. And one of the gentlemen I was working with, who is he's got a fun name, he's head of digital enabler. He hails out of Germany, but working with them in their appliance group. And this gentleman had Alteryx, he had a good understanding of it. He was just using Designer, there was nothing else that was advanced in this up front, and we'll get to that other part later. But he saw that the products that were coming out of the plant, one of the plants, the way that they were getting palletized in the trucks is they were just completely inefficient. So as the products came off the line, they'd bundle them up, they'd package them, and then they'd put them on the truck, and they'd send them on their way to the other plant or to the other distribution center. So within 4 days, he took all the data out of their SAP ERP system and filtered it into Alteryx. He did an optimization based on the dimensions of the products that he had, and then he made it more efficient to be able to package those products up. Once those products were packaged, on a monthly basis, he reduced the number of truckloads that were leaving the plant to go to the other plants and distribution centers from 295 down to 250 trucks. So 4 days, SAP ERP system through Alteryx, built it out, automated it, and then he saved 1.08, I think was the number, 1.08, let's call it 1.1, $1.1 million that he found in hard savings, not efficiency gains, not going back upstream, which is what he did eventually to say, okay, how do we become more efficient in the assembly line itself, but just simply trying to optimize what was getting packed in the trucks. And the cool thing about it is he's got a lot of work on his plate, just like most of us. So once he built that in the 4-day time, the end result of that, as Jeff was saying, is you come out into outcomes and we can put it anywhere you want. Alteryx was actually automated to create the shipper that went back into SAP BW. So start to finish, fully automated. Now the shipper's coming out. He doesn't have to touch it. And then future state, he applied some machine learning capabilities because leadership caught eye on this, of course. They're like, what's going on and how'd you do this in 4 days? Then he went and self-audited using our machine learning tools to say, okay, the data, I'm making this number up, but it's 93%. Let's continue to improve and improve. He was self-auditing, fully automated, by the way, this whole process from start to finish, so that he could prove to leadership that it was just getting better as he continued that workflow and as it continued to learn. We have stories like this all across the different industries, different lines of business, but these are the type of things that we like to call quick wins that we work with. And what's cool about it is some of the tools that he had at his disposal, he didn't even own in Alteryx. We gave him trials. We worked with him to actually understand how to build out the machine learning capability. He went away for 10 days. He came back on the machine learning side. And then we filtered, and Jeff was actually one of the folks helping me back then last year. So we started working with them and had our partner tied in, all of it included. And then once he was there, he's like, all right, I need this part of the product. He purchased it. It was an easy win for him and the leadership. So this is what we like to do with our customers when we talk about partnering. When we talk about our go-to-market strategy, we truly want to partner with you. It's long-term. I'll give you one more quick example because I have one of my gentlemen in the back there, Patrick. We were on a call yesterday with the director of finance from a mortgage company, and we're working with them in our innovation program, which is a lot of times what our customers like to do. They spend the 20 or 25K up front, and then we get into a 4 to 6 month engagement, and we actually build out with tools and with partners, and we actually start mapping training with use cases and things that you need, and we run together to help build out the value. Yesterday, we were talking with this mortgage company who's in an innovation program with us, and unprompted, she said to us, she said, you know, we got a lot of feedback from the team, and what we like the most is that you're not really selling to us. Like, we actually feel like you're a partner and that you actually care about our business. And this is the biggest compliment we could have as a software company, because typically you have a sales guy like me with a suit coat on that looks like all the other sales guys, maybe a little more hair than some of the other guys like this guy. But when we come in, you expect us to come at you and and we're going to try to sell you something. It's not the case for Alteryx and our team. We want to partner. We want to gain your trust. We want to prove it out, and you'll see the ROI. And once it's proven and once you feel comfortable, then we can talk about what that looks like in the end. So pride ourselves on that. We're super thankful for our customers who like to give us that feedback. So want to make sure that resonates. If you want more use case stories, just ask. I'm happy to share some more because we've got a ton of these that can go across all lines of business. And with that, I'll say thank you for your time. We'll open it up for any Q&A, and don't be shy. Yes. Systems integrations?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Anything specific, like a specific system you want to share or platform?
Probably the use case would be avoiding the user to type the same data over and over again in all these different systems.
Got it. So you're saying, for those that couldn't hear, she's talking about system integration, specifically users having to type in data over and over and over into the same systems. And this is data coming from all over the place into one system, or it's typically one spot?
So in different systems, so for example, suppliers. So we have suppliers data like in 3 or 4 different systems, and the user just needs to introduce this data in all of them.
Yes.
So we are trying to find a solution for that so that they don't have to keep introducing the data over again.
I'll hand it over to Jeff, but what I will say is we have some tools that can even scrape email and Outlook to start pulling some of that data in as well. But Jeff.
Yeah, it's a great question. So we like to, and this is a perfect example of kind of how we work. And I'm going to introduce RPAs as well. So a UI path, for example, you might have saw that on the screen. So they're going to be the bots. And what I like to phrase this up as is Alteryx is like, if you're talking about replacing a user manually typing things into forms or sheets, Alteryx is the brains of that user, and the RPA, the UI path or the bot, is going to be the fingers and the hands, right? So you're going to program in Alteryx, and not program, but you're going to build a workflow that's the process, right? It's extracting the data that they need from the various systems and creating a flow in Alteryx that can be automated. And at the end of that, you're going to be publishing the information, the data, to an RPA, like a UI path, which is then going to take that information that you've curated from Alteryx and actually go through the process of entering in the details on all of the various forms or websites or whatever you need. And we've got a lot of examples of that, of use cases of customers that have done that already. And we can even showcase a presentation, a joint presentation, to show you kind of a end state. Here's what that would actually look like.
Is that helpful? Yeah. Any other questions, thoughts, comments? Stomach growls for lunch?
Yeah, we are standing right in front of lunch.
I'm gonna give one more. I got to give you one more example because I am a sales guy at heart. But I'll give you an example of a large automotive company that we probably all know based out of Detroit or Dearborn, but I won't say the name. They build a lot of trucks, and every 53 seconds a truck rolls off the line. They had a situation where in the morning when the shift started at 8 o'clock, they've got folks that don't show up or temporary workers that don't show up. And for every minute that line is down, it's $50,000, $60,000, right, in revenue that's out the window. What they started to do is analyze, and this is where we talk about when we go back to this slide here, and we start mapping business problems with you instead of just trying to throw a product at you. We were working with this company to start mapping out what that process looked like. And what it really came down to, because I won't hold you too long, is that they realized it took about 5 to 8 minutes for the folks to park their cars, their vehicles, to come through, badge in, right, key in, and then drop their lunch pail off and get to the line. So when they started to realize that folks weren't coming in on time or they were calling off, but it was too late to understand that until after the shift started, they went back through this process and figured out that there was some time in between that they could capture, and there was some data, and it was the scanned badges. So again, without all the gory details, they used Alteryx to build an automated workflow so that when those badges were scanned 5 to 10 minutes before the shift, all of that data was analyzed to understand where the gaps in the line would be. And then the supervisors and the folks who are actually the temporary workers coming in would get an automated email or even text message on their phone prior to the 8 a.m. shift starting to say, here's the gaps that we have, supervisor. Here's the temporary workers you have available, and here's where we need them to go on the line. So 8 a.m. rolled around, and there were no gaps in the workforce. So when you think about that and you start doing the math, they not only implemented that across 3 shifts per day, but they implemented it across multiple plants across the country and then eventually globally. That's just another example of how we can use your data to kind of create a superpower for you that was typically just, you wouldn't think about the fact that badge data is going into a system, and then we can pull it from any system, like we said, and that workflow is automated, and they just got those emails every morning and every afternoon and every night before the shift started. So just kind of let your brain work a little bit from those extreme examples of supply chain, even human resources, finance, right? We can do it, and we like to do it this way, where we're actually mapping out problems that you have and then solving them with the tool. All right, last call for questions. Yes, I'll let you talk about it. Cloud.
Yeah, so we introduced Designer Cloud powered by Trifacta. So we acquired Trifacta in February, February of this year. And so right now we're going through, so that's available today. So if you call your rep, they're going to be able to set you up with a presentation on that and how it works and everything. And then as the year rolls on, that integration is going to change the interface a little bit. But if you need a cloud platform, we have that today.
Any other questions?
Did you have to pay royalties to VW?
Do we have to pay royalties to VW? Oh, to BW or VW?
VW.
I don't think so. Is that a trick question?
Bus.
Huh?
For the bus, the microbus.
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know the answer. And I am also not ashamed to say that if I don't know an answer, I'll tell you. I won't make something up. So.
Isn't that Dean's bus?
It is. I can tell you that they switched headquarters, and because of the way they had it up on the second floor, and they moved it, they had to actually take the window out and then deflate the tires to pull the bus out and get it to the new headquarters in Irvine. So Fun fact on the bus.
I think that was the most expensive part of the new office.
Yes, but they said it had to be there, so. All right, any other questions? Going once, twice? Okay, thank you so much. Our booth's right outside here. If you need anything, stop by. Thank you.